Well, it's that time of the week again when we get to talk about brand new VR games coming out this week, new VR games coming out next week, and of course some of that juicy VR gaming news. But of course, before we dive into this video, I ask you one small favour: smash that like button, subscribe. Hey, it's not a big deal, takes 2 seconds, and I would massively appreciate it. Other than that though, let's dive into new VR games this week. Kicking things off is a title I actually missed from last week, so I'm going to add it into this week, and that is Don't Move. This is a game that came out for PCVR. It's a demo right now, not a full game, but I have to talk about this because I dived into it myself to try it out, and oh my goodness, it's freaking terrifying. Now, this is another one of those sort of like fear testing sort of simulators, very much a game that you sort of put new people in VR into because it doesn't involve really any movement, and it's just kind of a very immersive experience to make someone realize just how dope VR is. But I definitely recommend that you give this a try for yourself as well because, well, it scared the freaking sweet baby Jesus out of me. I was actually surprised just how graphically nice this game is, as well as just how much it actually kind of worked just having to sit there and not move and yet feel so immersed inside of this game. You're gonna have to face off against things like ghosts, sharks, snakes, spiders, you name it, it's in there in this demo. And again, you know, of course, as in the title, the whole idea of this is to literally not move. If you move, you fail and you have to go right back to the beginning again, and I did that a few times. I do think it's a little temperamental right now in the fact that it's registering like micro movements, but you know, whatever. The aim of the title is to stay bloody still. Next up, we have the brand new DLC come to Behemoth, and this is the Rights to Wrath DLC. Now, within this DLC, you're going to get a brand new sort of like sandbox mode. It's really just a jazzed up version of the original one, but it definitely adds a lot of value to the game if you want to get back in there and you really like the combat within this game. It kind of just adds a lot more value to be able to go back in there and re-experience that. On top of that, also, there is a boss fight mode where essentially you're getting in there and you're just going to back-to-back all the bosses. This is really where I think it shines personally because, like, obviously the highlight of this game is going up against the freaking behemoths, so actually getting in there and getting to back these guys feels incredible. I personally really enjoyed this. It's a real friggin' challenge, so expect like this not to be easy by any means, but it is definitely one of those things that draws me back into the game again and just gives it so much more value. I'd actually really love to see a DLC that sort of brought back in some more behemoths and gave maybe another storyline, maybe another character that's following this storyline. I feel like these things could really add a lot of value to this game over time and definitely sort of push up their sales. So fingers crossed we get some more stuff like that. Even if it's just a new additional behemoth fight would be pretty sick. So fingers crossed they do something like that in the future. Next up, we had Epica come to the PSVR 2. Now this is actually a title, like I said the other week when I spoke about this, that's definitely worth playing. This one's pretty cool. It's a puzzler. You get to play it through with your little companion pet dog, which is also welcomed. But it's just a really solid puzzler experience. It's not the longest game in history, but it's definitely one for you puzzlers just to get your teeth into and enjoy. VR gaming news. As always, this is my favourite part of the week, and that is because I get to talk to you guys about the super cool stuff that we have coming up in VR across this year, and this week is no different. We've got some pretty frigging cool announcements for some massive games coming our way. Kicking it all off, Demeo Dungeons & Dragons crossover. Now, I'm a huge Demeo fan. I bloody love that game. I've put literally hundreds of hours into playing it in both VR and flat. I also really like Dungeons & Dragons, so the fact that these two things are smashing together combined into one, I am very excited about. This is going to be coming out later this year, and this is kind of the crossover I think any Demeo fan has been waiting for to finally face up against some of the things that we know and love from the Dungeons & Dragons, but you know, of course, just combining those two games together, really making it what I think everyone really wanted it to be originally. Even though Demeo completely stands up on its own, this is really, I think, going to be the icing on the cake that just finishes it off, and again, I'm just super excited to be able to experience this one for myself. Next up, in a surprise announcement at the PlayStation Showcase, we got the announcement of Thief VR coming. I mean, like, this is really exciting news. I was a massive fan of the Thief games back in the Dizzle, and I always felt like these games perfectly lent themselves to being a virtual reality game, and now this is becoming a reality. Now we've got Maze Theory and Vertigo Games teaming up for this, and honestly, two incredible development teams coming together to make a game like this just gives me full hope for it. I'm very, very excited for this one. It adds my hype value up by like another 3 points just on the basis that you have two good development development teams working on this at the same time. This is going to be the Legacy of Shadow Thief game, and I am very excited about that. I think this whole universe lends itself perfectly to being in virtual reality. Just the movement, the sneakiness, sort of the clambering through things, the doing what you have to do in this game to get through it. I just feel like everything about this lends itself perfectly into virtual reality. As long as they get the immersive nature of this game really up high, this could be an absolute freaking blast and a huge win for VR. Next up, we had Lumien's Ares. I think I'm saying that right, probably not. But either way, this is a brand new game coming across from the developers of Tetris Effect. Now, if you've never played Tetris Effect, I highly recommend that you give that a go. Not only is it Tetris, which is slightly addictive at the best of times and very addictive at the worst of times, but it's an absolute freaking gorgeous feast for the eyeballs, so definitely one to check out. But of course, they are now releasing this new title that I can barely pronounce. This one is going to be similar, very puzzler-esque, very picturesque, very beautiful looking, and I am just excited to play this. I'm actually a bit of a sucker for things like Cubism or Tetris. I really love those simple games that just, you know, they test your wit, but they also sort of like actually just really immerse you into playing something for a really long time, and then blinking and realizing you've just lost an hour and a half of your life. So, bit of a sucker for those games. This one is definitely on my list of excitement. And last but not least, in this section of the video, we are going to be talking about the VR Developer Showcase that's coming up next week. Now, they're going to be talking about a few games that are going to be coming out across this year, with a little bit more of a deep dive with the developers actually talking about the products that they're making. I feel like this is going to be a pretty cool addition to what we normally have from these guys. They normally do like a showcase where they explain about all the cool stuff that we have coming up this year, kind of similar to what I do. You know, invite me to the show. But for real, this is going to be more of a developer showcase where they actually get to speak about the games that they're making and stuff. I feel like it's going to be pretty cool. There's going to be a couple of things from Flat to VR Studio and a couple of stuff that's not announced yet, so I'm pretty excited to see what they have cooking. Keep your eyes peeled, as this is going to be coming out, I think, this weekend. Coming up next week. Well, next week is a pretty packed week, actually. For once, I can say that. I've been saying like one game for the last few weeks where we've been talking about this like coming up next week section. And finally, I've got a few games in the bag for you, starting off with Exar Gale. I think I said that correct. I need someone to tell me how to say game names. This is one I've been keeping my eye on, and I'm looking forward to playing. Again, as I've explained before, this is basically like Bird Simulator for you. You're going to be able to get into your wingsuit and fly around with your friends whilst racing, competing for times, and of course just having a good time with your mates all together. I'm really looking forward to this. Looks very simplistic but very fun, and I'm all about that. A game doesn't need to be complex or the most graphically intense thing you've ever seen to be super fun, as we've proven time and time again with things like, you know, all of the free-to-play games that are currently running out there on Quest that have probably the most retention out of anything and look probably the worst. So, you know, it's not about graphics, it's about quality, and I feel like this one is going to deliver on what I'm looking for personally, and that's just flying around. I mean, this is the whole point in virtual reality, is to escape and do something you physically can't do in reality, so this is definitely one of those examples of that, and I hope it holds up to it. Next up, we have a V-Racer hover bike that's also going to be dropping for the Quest next week. This one looks pretty interesting. It just looks like a really solid experience. We don't have a ton of good racing stuff in Quest, especially in Quest. I mean, there's tons for PCVR and there's tons for the PSVR 2. I say tons, there's a few for the PSVR 2. But nonetheless, we are really sort of like lacking in good quality stuff, so hopefully this will fill that. I haven't personally tried this yet. I don't know a busting amount about it, but of course I'll give you my opinion next week once I've actually tried it for myself. But yeah, I'm holding like relatively high hopes for this one, but we'll definitely see once we actually play it. As we all know, a trailer can look good, but a game can feel terrible. The elusive Zombie Army VR. It's finally, supposedly, dropping next week, as long as it doesn't get another delay. I'm pretty hopeful, though, this time round that this is actually going to be its release. I feel like I've said this too many times, but it does feel pretty hopeful that this is actually going to happen this time round. I'm pretty excited for this. Of course, as always, you know, go in with a pinch of salt. I don't know whether this is going to be a great game, bad game, or one of those games that maybe just should have never come, but we'll see, and we will dive into this ourselves, of course, diving into the action, and I can speak about this finally next week, so I'm excited about that. Yeah, if you're interested, Zombie Army is, of course, you and some friends getting in and killing a bunch of Z's, you know, Sniper Elite style. You're going to get some cool X-ray kills, you're going to get some very intense fights where there's lots of Z's on screen, and you're going to be blowing them up. So yeah, pretty cool. Looking forward to trying this one out. And last but not least, we have OVR Dark, a dark story, don't open a story. I've written it on screen. Too long of a title, man. Stop giving me such epically long titles. But nonetheless, this is going to be coming out, of course, next week on Quest. Now, this has been out for PC and for PSVR 2 already, and it did pretty well, I think, over there. So this is going to be a nice little release for them, you know, where I would say the biggest audience currently is now on Quest, so this would be good for them. If you're looking for a horror experience that's got like a touch of puzzling to it as well, this is definitely going to be one to keep an eye out for. It's really cool. I have played a portion of this game. I have not completed it, so I can't speak for this in its entirety like review style, but what I have played of this, it was pretty cool, fairly intense in places, and some pretty decent little puzzles to go with that as well. So pretty cool. And there you have it for this week, guys. A pretty good week's worth of freaking catch-up, actually, from some pretty decent titles that came out this week, some pretty decent titles coming out next week, and of course some of that epic gaming news, which keeps me personally on my toes and hopeful for the future of VR. As we all know, we're always sort of like waiting for the next big thing. It's kind of like almost the curse of virtual reality. We're never really truly happy with what's just come out, and we're always more excited about what's coming. So yeah, at least that fulfills some of those needs. And I think over the next few weeks, we're going to get a few more surprise announcements, especially leaning into this part of the year. It tends to be when developers are starting to get us hyped up about the stuff that's going to come out towards sort of like the latter end of summer or something. So fingers crossed, we're going to keep this trainer rolling. 2025 has been pretty freaking decent. Let's be fair to it. It's been pretty decent to us so far. I would really love to see some more solid PSVR 2 titles coming out, just because I love that system. And not only that, it's just utilized in a way where we can get like that high fidelity graphics out of it. So a little bit more for that, and PlayStation, show it a little love. Come on, man. You did the showcase the other day and there was 2 games in there. Could have been more. Anyway, let's end it there. If you enjoyed this video, smash like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Let me know what you're playing across the weekend in the comments down below, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out. Bye.